What's going on, guys? Welcome to Aquavita Woodworks. I'm Justin, and this is my 2023 shop tour. Let's check it out. I've only been on YouTube for about a year now, and at the time that I'm filming this video, I have a little less than 900 subscribers. So chances are, if you're watching this is the first time that you've seen my channel. I consider myself a CNC artist slash woodworker, and I only say that because I know a lot of people get upset when people that use CNC machines, which I do, call themselves woodworkers. I'm not here to spark a debate. You can let me know what you think of that in the comments. All I can tell you is that I use wood to make most of my projects, so take that with a grain of salt. I choose to use my CNC machine because it allows me to invent, design, and build pretty complex projects at the press of a button. Take, for example, this rotating challenge coin display that I made. It uses a 3 RPM motor that's mounted underneath to drive a series of gears to turn coins individually. Every other challenge coin display that I saw would only show you one side of the coin. I figured this was a good way to show both sides. If you're interested in seeing how I made this, check out the build video on my main channel, and you can purchase the files on my Etsy page. Anyway, let's get back to the shop tour, which is the reason for this video. This is a rendering that I made of my shop when I first moved into my house in early 2021. As you can see, it's a 2-car garage with 1 large opening for cars and then 2 doors that lead in from the outside. The dimensions are approximately 22 foot by 22 foot. If you clicked on this video looking for a super organized YouTube shop, you're out of luck. The reason I wanted to make this video in the first place was that so down the road I can look back and see how far I've come. I consider myself a beginner woodworker because I've only been doing this for about 2.5 years, and I've only had my CNC machine since October of 21. So I'm really new into this, and I still haven't even figured out what tools or workflow I'm gonna need. That being said, I have assembled a lot of stuff, so let me show it to you and zoom out and show you this tool wall. Where I'm standing right now is the back right portion of my garage and what I call my workbench slash tool wall because there's a wall with tools. Starting on the left, you can see that the door that I entered in on in the beginning of this video is right there with a small staircase that leads down. On the wall here, I have a really small French cleat rack that holds my clamps, chisels, and a few screwdrivers. And above that, I have some lumber storage that I really never get to. In the center here, I have a bunch of small tools on the French cleat rack that needs to be a whole lot bigger. This is my main workbench that I got for free off Craigslist, and then I mounted a vise to it. In the left drawer here, I have all my small parts, that being screws, magnets, hinges, door handles, ball bearings, whatever the random projects I need, I kind of just throw all the hardware in there. In the middle, I have a bunch of random hand tools that don't have a place yet, and some hole saws and various jigs that I almost never use. Those are all kind of thrown about into that center cabinet. And on the right, I have all my finishing supplies. I use a lot of lacquer because I make a lot of flags when I'm not making all my silly contraptions. And then underneath is paint and cleaning supplies for bits and such. When my wife and I moved here, this garage had popcorn walls and popcorn ceilings, which was absolutely disgusting. So the first thing I did was remove all the popcorn and then repainted the walls, which was the best thing I did because now it's pretty nice considering. The very next thing I did was install a 100 amp sub panel. So far I only have 3 circuits off of this panel and they're all on this side of the garage. Eventually I want to have more circuits over here, but I haven't quite figured out what I need to run. Underneath I have my generator on the ground, and in front of that is my kerosene heater that I use to heat the garage in the winter. That's not the best solution, which is why I left this space open in the corner because I want to get a hydronic heater that hooks up to my boiler. I should be installing that this year because I have one in the basement that, guess what, I found for free. So that'll be a really nice addition. I just need to plumb it through my house. We'll see how that goes. Continuing counterclockwise to the back wall of my garage brings us to the miter station. It's not much of a miter station, but I do have a miter saw on it, so that's what I'm going to call it. I have a bandsaw, a spindle sander, a belt sander, and some various tools underneath with my air compressor that I use a lot. The tables that everything sit on I got for free on the side of the road, obviously, and they're in need of some repair. Eventually I want to build a nice cabinet here with some additional shelves up top to store more tools. Mounted up on the wall, I have an old cabinet that holds a heat gun, brad nailers, plunge router, and some router bits along with some random sandpaper. Above my CNC machine in the left corner, I have some old kitchen cabinets that my coworker was throwing away, so I repurposed and used as shop cabinets. Up above my head is something that I installed right when I moved in. It's just a bunch of bin storage with random items. I made this shelf with plywood and held it in place with an old dog fence that I cut up and hang from the ceiling. It works pretty good and keeps everything off the ground. My only complaint is that it gets really dusty, but whatever, it's a wood shop. What are we gonna do? Speaking of things that make a lot of dust, at the very end of my miter station, I have my Shapeoko Pro XXL desktop CNC machine. I bought this machine in October of 2021, and by the end of that year, it had already paid for itself. I was a complete beginner to CNC. I had never done any programming or anything like that, and my current job has nothing to do with that. But I was able to make some custom flags, epoxy resin maps, and some other simple items that people just seem to love. I power the machine with a Fusion 5 tablet, and that just allows me to use a touchscreen to jog it back and forth. For dust collection, I use a shop vac hooked up to a little arm that holds it above the machine. That's not the best solution. I'll probably hook it up to an actual dust collector at some point, but it works good enough for now. If I'm being honest, I could probably make a full YouTube video just talking about how much I love this machine and how I learned it along the way, starting from nothing. But that is not the purpose of this video, so let's continue on to the next wall of my shop, where I keep some of my larger tools. Opposite my tool wall, I have the wall where I keep all my larger tools, like my drill press, my drum sander, and my dust collection system. In the corner over here, I usually have a lunchbox planer on that little cart, but I'm letting a buddy borrow it. I also have the only window in my shop on this wall, which has an exhaust fan in it, which helps with fumes, dust, and just getting the air moving. Above our heads in the center of my shop, I do also have a Win air filter. There's really not much to talk about. These tools are pretty self-explanatory on this side of the wall, but I do have some pretty interesting decorations that I'll show you because I think they're pretty cool. In the middle here, I have this crazy intense model train that one of my best friends makes. His company is Arduck Locomotives, and you should totally check their website out. I'll put a link in the description down below. He cuts these out on a laser and sells them as kits. I really don't understand how he designs these. He's pretty insane. You should check them out because these kits are incredible. And at the very end here, I have a little gnome that I made and messed up on. So I made a sign for him to hold that says, "Mistakes are okay," because, well, we all make mistakes. Moving on to the middle of my shop here, you can see I have my table saw, my router table, and my assembly table. This was a free table that I got from my parents' house in their basement that just had a bunch of junk piled on top of it. It works good enough for now. It has 2 drawers in the front here that I keep a bunch of random stuff in. But other than that, I will improve upon it in the future and probably just build a new one. Sitting on top of my table right now is a prototype for a game that I invented. I'm calling it Penny Pushers. For the rest of this video, you saw that I'm pretty cheap, so I thought that was a good name for it, seeing as the goal of the game is to rake in as many coins as possible before the other 3 players do. If you guys want to see how I designed and built this game, leave me a comment down below, or more importantly, hit that subscribe button because it really helps keep me motivated, and we need to grow this channel. I'm really working hard on these, using my cell phone to film these, so help a guy out. Anyway, let's move on to the final wall in my shop, which is basically a catch-all for house supplies and scrap wood. Like I said, this corner of the garage next to where we started is basically a catch-all for all things that don't fit everywhere else. This large rolling wood cart is something that I built right when I moved into the shop, and it serves me well, but I need to do a better job keeping it organized. Every few months, I need to throw away scrap wood, burn it, or find some small project I can make as gifts. In this far corner here, I have non-wood related items like this ladder, some cardboard boxes, there's some rakes back there, and some other random stuff that just doesn't belong anywhere else. Leaning against this railing right here, I have some live edge slabs, some pieces of plywood, and some old barrel staves that I haven't quite decided what to do with yet. In front of that, you can see I have an old Craftsman jointer here. I got this recently for $100 off a estate sale, and I just need to go through and tune it up. As far as I can tell, there's nothing wrong with it other than it just being old. I need to put some new blades on there and make sure everything is square. I already went through and kind of buffed out the cast iron top, and I think it looked pretty good so far. So we'll see how that comes along in the future. Clearly, it's not much to look at in this area, which is why I'm not going to spend too much time on it. This is where we will conclude our tour of my shop. So let's go wrap it up at the tool wall where we started. That's all I got for you today, guys. I just want to say thank you for sticking around and watching this whole video if you made it this far. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and leave me some comments down below if you have any ideas on things I should make in the future. Now go out there and make some stuff. See you next time.